It was a summer that smelled like honeysuckle and fresh-cut grass. The kind of summer where the air hums with cicadas, and the evenings are painted gold by the sinking sun. I had just turned 12, and that meant big changes in my little world. School was out, my parents were busy with work. And for the first time, I was going to spend the entire season with my Aunt Mae, my grandmother's oldest sister, in her weathered house on Willow Street. Aunt Mae wasn't like anyone I'd ever met. She was tall, with silver-streaked hair she always tied in a bun, and eyes that seemed to hold a million stories. She had this way of making you feel like every word you said mattered. "Child," she'd say, shaking her head with a knowing smile. "The world has a way of teaching you things if you just sit still long enough to notice." The first night I arrived, the air was heavy with the scent of the garden. Aunt Mae and I sat on her front porch. She rocked slowly in her chair, the wood creaking in rhythm with her stories. "See that light over there?" she asked, pointing to the single lamp near the end of the street. "That's my porch light. Always been on. People think it's just a light, but it's more than that. It's a beacon. A reminder that someone's always waiting. Someone who cares. You'll understand one day." I nodded, though I wasn't sure I did. I was 12, after all, impatient for adventures that didn't involve rocking chairs or porch lights. The next morning, Aunt Mae handed me a basket. "We're going to the market," she said. "But not just any market. We're going to find the stories hiding behind the stalls." I followed her down the street, past houses with white picket fences, past the corner bakery where the smell of cinnamon rolls made me wish I had more than just a week to stay here. At the market, Aunt Mae greeted everyone like they were old friends, asking about their children, their pets, their troubles. And then she'd turn to me with that twinkle in her eye. "See, child? Everyone has a story. You just have to be willing to listen." By the end of the first week, I had met Mr. Thompson, the man who ran the corner store and once saved a dog from a burning building. Miss Lillian, who baked pies that could make the saddest person smile. And even little Joey, who had lost his baseball mitt but found a friend in me. Aunt Mae was right. The world was full of stories, if you took the time to see them. But the summer wasn't all sunshine and cicadas. One evening, a storm rolled in. The sky turned a bruise-colored purple, and the wind shook the windows of Aunt Mae's house. Lightning flashed, and thunder growled like an angry old dog. I was scared. I clutched a blanket, shivering. But Aunt Mae simply pulled me close. "Child," she whispered, "storms come and go. But the porch light, it stays. Always. Remember that." That night, as I drifted to sleep, I thought about the porch light, not just as a physical thing, but as a symbol of hope, of safety, of the people who cared, even when you felt alone. And I realized Aunt Mae had been teaching me more than just the stories of Willow Street. She was teaching me how to live, how to see the world with open eyes, and how to be the kind of person who keeps their own porch light on for someone else. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the streets sparkling with puddles and sunlight bouncing off wet rooftops. Aunt Mae was already outside, tending her garden, humming a tune I didn't recognize. "Child," she said, brushing dirt off her hands, "today, we're going on a proper adventure." I followed her with curiosity. "Where?" I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. "To the old creek," she said with a mysterious smile. "You'll need your boots." I pulled on my worn sneakers, already damp from puddle jumping, but Aunt Mae didn't seem to notice. She led me down a winding path past fences, abandoned lots, and towering oak trees. Birds chirped in celebration, and I could hear the creek before I saw it, babbling like it had secrets to share. When we arrived, I realized the creek was more like a small river, lined with smooth rocks and wildflowers. Sunlight danced on the water, making it glitter as if sprinkled with gold. Aunt Mae knelt beside it, her hands tracing the moss-covered stones. "This place," she said, "is special. Not because it's pretty, though it is, but because it holds stories." "Stories?" I asked, my eyes wide. "Yes, child. People leave pieces of themselves here. Sometimes it's a note in a bottle, sometimes it's a lost trinket, and sometimes," she paused dramatically, "it's a lesson waiting to be found." We walked along the bank until I saw it, a small wooden box half buried in mud, its edges worn smooth. "Look, Aunt Mae," I exclaimed. Together, we pried it open. Inside were trinkets. A tiny carved animal, a faded photograph, a marble, and a note that read, "To whoever finds this, remember that courage comes in small steps." I looked up at Aunt Mae. "Do people really leave these here?" "Oh yes," she said, her eyes twinkling. "And today, you'll leave something of your own." I dug into my pocket and pulled out a small seashell I had kept from a trip to the coast. I placed it carefully in the box and scribbled a short note. "Keep this, whoever finds it. Remember that every adventure begins with curiosity." Aunt May smiled. "There. Now you've added to the creek stories, and one day, someone else will find it and feel a little braver because of you." We spent the rest of the afternoon skipping rocks, wading through the shallows, and laughing so hard that my sides ached. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in the city, like the world was bigger and brighter than I'd imagined, and I had a small place in it after all. As we trudged back home, muddy and sunburned, Aunt May took my hand. "Child," she said, "adventures aren't always dragons and treasure maps. Sometimes they're quiet and small, but they leave the biggest marks." That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about the creek and the little wooden box. I realized that summer wasn't just about fun. It was about finding courage, making connections, and leaving a bit of yourself in the world, just like Aunt May's porch light.